Nelson. Good evening to all of you here. Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm doing so well, NLT. I'm doing so well, and I'm doing well, Nelson. Obed, I'm doing well, by God's grace. It's been a great time here in Accra. Fine. I hope you are doing well. I'm doing well, oh my bro. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Ibrahima. Great. It's nice to be here, right? To continue what we've been doing, we're getting straight into business. And my hope is to get my financial statement model today and have a balance by close of today's lectures. We have extended these lectures, and so we can complete all this that we've been doing. So let me go straight here. And they've just shared with you the SL. I believe you have the new SL workbook now. There have been some new changes. There have been some changes in that one. Let me just close this. I don't know why. Collapse this. Okay. All right. So let me just highlight some few changes that I've made in this particular workbook. When you go to the assumptions, let me see the assumptions. The assumption sheet. Now, when you go to, let's say, earning asset, that's the first one, earning assets, you will see that I've introduced this. We discussed this yesterday. I mentioned to you that I want the gross loans have been given. We have the gross loans here. And now I've described this to mean gross loans by class, right? So this particular table have always been there, but I've introduced another one below it, which is the gross loans and advances by credit quality. And so this is by credit quality, and this is by class. I think there's a bit of, I need to quickly check out something here. I think something has, okay. All right, good. That's fine. So this is gross loan by class, and this is gross loan by credit quality. There's something I want to say here. You see that there's difference between the gross loans we have here and the gross loans we have by credit quality. So I need to explain these gross loans by credit quality first, and then I'll tell you why the difference, right? So we discussed something yesterday when we're looking at assumptions. Let me get that quickly. The base case assumption. We discussed something relating to the Bank of Ghana Prudential Impairment Guidelines, right? That the loans are classified as follows. Loans that maybe let's say customers fail to pay, like the regular interest and principal payment, they default or they fail to pay within 30 days. We charge 1% impairment on the gross values of the loan. And those that the customers fail to pay 30 days, but they're able to settle their payment within 90 days, we charge 10% impairment on that. And I told you that the global definition of default is 90-day past due, right? So beyond 90 days, but less than 180 days, we classify those loans as substandard loans. And then beyond 180 days, but less than 360 days, we classify them as doubtful. And these are the impairment rates, right, associated with those ones. And then we have those that 360 days past due are classified as loss, and 100% impairment is charged on them. All right, so we did something like this, and I told you that I want to take the gross loan too, because oftentimes the banks report the gross loans across the various classifications, right? So GCB did. So that's what I did here. Let me show you this. So this is earning asset. You can see them here. And we have the current, which is low to fair risk, and then money, the OLM here, and then substandard, doubtful and loss. And you realize that in a section of 2024, where the total for the gross loan here, I don't know why, okay. In the section of 2024, where the total for a gross loan here is the same as, let me pin this. In the section of, I think this, okay. In the section of 2024, where the total for the gross loan by class is the same as the total for gross loan by quality, the rest are all different. Look, it's a reporting thing, right? Let me explain. See, this is what happens. The banks, this in the calculation of the net loans, let's come up there. Let me show you this so that you don't have any confusion. In the computation of the net loans, use the net loan. In the computation of the net loans, we take the gross loans, then we adjust for interest in suspense. I told you what the interest in suspense is. These are interest accrued on the substandard through to doubtful and loss, okay, category of loans. The interest accrued on those ones. Because interests are accrued on those balances, but the customers defaulted, Bank of Ghana says, don't those interests shouldn't go into P&L. So we can have interest income coming from those areas. The interest income that goes to P&L will only be on the first two categories, which is the current and the OLM, right? Substandard, doubtful, and loss, you can accrue interest on them, but they don't go to P&L. They are the ones in the interest in suspense. So those are interest in suspense. Okay. If I told you that IFRS didn't actually put any serious restrictions on that, IFRS says you can accrue interest, but the interest you accrue, or the rate you use to accrue the interest should be a credit adjusted rate, right? So if you look at it, the gross loans, we have them, then we are adjusted by interest in suspense. And even these gross loans we have here, they are not entirely or representing only the amount of money given to customers initially. It includes that, and also let's say interest accrued on the loans, right? As time passes, you accrue interest on the loan. Customers will pay, and then once they pay, then the value of the loan drops and the value of the interest paid, right? So the gross loan here includes the interest in suspense as well. Okay, so to get a net loan, we must back out the interest in suspense, because these are interests we are not going to realize. They are in suspense accounts, so we back it up. We back them out of it, and then we take out allowances for impairment, and then we get the net loans. But this is the case. Until 2024, GCB has been reporting adjustments for interest in suspense. Okay, but in 2024, GCB stopped showing the interest in suspense. So the interest in suspense has been backed out here. So if you have this 11934, the interest in suspense has been backed out of it already. Okay, it's been backed out of it already. So what you're seeing here is the net position. That is the gross, what we used to have here, the gross loan minus the interest in suspense. So that has been done in 2024. That's why it appears there's no balance for interest in suspense. It's all because it's been back out there, right? So the only thing that led to be back out again is the allowance for impairment. That being said, when you come down here, the gross loan by class here used to be the gross loans before interest in suspense is taken out. Okay, they used to be the gross loans before interest in suspense is taken out. So when you check my formula here, you see that I'm trying to pick that gross loan. So that's the gross loan before you back out interest in suspense. But in 2024, the gross loan we have, the gross loan we have here has already suffered from interest in suspense. That has been adjusted. Okay, that has been adjusted. The interest in suspense has been adjusted or have been matched against that already. So it's a net position that is reported here. Is that okay? Now, so when we come to the loan classification, for the purpose of impairment, this loan classification for purpose of impairment had been adjusted already for interest in suspense. It's an adjusted balance. Now, let me show you that this is true. Okay, come up here where we have the gross loan minus interest in suspense. Take the gross loan and adjust it for interest in suspense. Let's see, it will give you the total for the the loan categorization by credit quality. So this is what we have. And if you check it out, you see it's the same thing. This is the same as this. This is the same as this. This is the same as this. Are you getting the point? So the loan classification or gross loan classification by credit quality has been adjusted for interest assessments already. That's the message, or that's what I want to tell you here. Now, what's the sense of all these things? What this is telling us is that, let's say in 2024, for instance, 81% of the gross loans granted by GCB are in the first category, current. They are current, meaning they are really performing. The OLM2 is about 3.6%. In other words, if I sum up the current and the OLM, this current and OLM is giving us 85%. 85% of the loans of GCB are performing. So it's the current plus the OLM that gives us the performing loans. And the non-performing loans will be substandard, doubtful, and lost. That is the non-performing loans region. So when we say non-performing loans, our NPL ratio is basically just doing what I'm doing here. Just take the proportion of those loans as the proportion of this loan to the total gross loan. And when you do this calculation, you are going to get this plus this plus this. These are non-performing loans, and that is approximately 15%. So the non-performing loan of GCB, this is the non-performing loan, 6% to 11%, then rising to 16%, again 21%, 20%. In fact, in 2022, it rose to 21, right? It declined again, then it's now 15%. Well, there are some nuances associated with the computation of NPL ratio, but the simpler approach to calculating NPL ratio is all I've just done here. And that is taking the non-performing aspect of the loan, which includes the substandard, doubtful, and lost. Taking that total, you can do it here as well. You take the total for the non-performing loan region, that's substandard, doubtful, and lost, and express it over the total gross loan as given here. And again, I said the total gross loan here are gross loans that have already been adjusted for interest in suspense. Now, that is clear. So the way we are going to be calculating impairment loss will be based on this distribution. So here I've calculated a distribution. So our forecast for we are going to forecast credit quality distribution, and based on that, we are able to calculate our impairment loss, because we know for each category the percentage we need to apply for impairment, right? So that is for gross loans and advances. For advances to banks, I've done a similar thing again. Historically, for advances to banks, GCB's loans are all current, right? Advances to banks are all current, and so they are charged just about 1%, right? But last year, they didn't even make any provision for this. Maybe going forward, there's no need to even make any provision going forward in respect of the advances to banks. So this is where we are going to be calculating our impairment loss. Forget about the history. The history, nothing really. We're not going to mind. I didn't put the historical figures there because of the way they were reported. So it is the forecast periods that I'm going to be concerned with in the computation, and then I will have them linked appropriately. Good. That being said, I'm going back to the assumptions, the base case assumption. And in the base case assumption, you can see the various days in here, and also the percentage applying to in the computation of the impairment. What I'll do is that I want to move all these here. So this 30 days, and move it to the first column. And because there's something I want to do, I'll show it to you soon. So this is less than 90 days. So loans less than 90 days. Then this is less than 180 days, greater than 90 days, 180 days. And then this is greater than 180 but less than 360 days. Is 60 days. And then finally, here is more than 360 days, and that is the loss region. More than 360 days. Okay. And so these are the percentages associated with each of these. I mean, for the purpose of computation of impairment, right? The credit provision or the loss, the provision that have to be made. KIGA, there's nothing for KIGA actually. So I'd rather call this, instead of saying BOG Prudential Impairment Guideline, I want to rather call it, let me do this quickly. Let me copy the header here and paste here. The funny thing is that I have to go do this for all the scenarios, right? So let me do this quickly. And then I think this also, and then finally, I need to do for these here entirely. Okay. So I should have just done, I don't know why I've taken my time. I could have done for all of them. Then here, so that I can do for all of these here. And then here, I'll do for all this. Okay, good. So I'll call these impairment provision or allowance. So I'm using BOG guidelines. Okay, BOG guideline. All right. So over the forecast period, we don't expect this to change. So you're going to have the same thing over the forecast period, and the KGA will be non-applicable, not applicable throughout. So over the forecast period, we don't expect this to change. So this is all we need in the computation of impairments, right? So I'm going to copy this like this. Then I'll go to each of the cases. So this is the base case. I'm going to do that here. And then I'll go to worst case and do the same for worst case. And finally, I'll go to live case and do the same on live case. Good. So I think, what else? I think I made some few adjustments as well in the whole thing. I think especially I did something on the P&L as well. And they are just historical figures, right? I was trying to align the historical figures. And I think also something on the employee obligation. But these are historical figures. So when you pick it, when you compare what we did yesterday, when you look at what we did yesterday, the methodologies are right, but I just made adjustment to historical figures, right? All right, so let's delete everything here for a reason in the live sheets. And then before we start our work, wonderful. The assumption, I don't know why in the assumption that I was having CD signs and all that. Well, it's supposed to have been deleted, but I don't want to waste time on those things now. We also have, let's say, I provided some macro. I've completed the data here. Okay, what I wanted to do. I think one thing left, which is EcoBank. Let me just handle that of EcoBank. I know historically, the CASA to total deposit ratio for EcoBank had been, because I don't have 2019, there have been a lot of reclassification in EcoBank, so it's kind of some way. So I'm just going to use the future distributions to share the total deposit into CASA and non-CASA, right, for EcoBank. So in 2020, CASA for EcoBank as percentage of total deposit about 92%. In fact, going forward, it has been dropping. But let me just do it 2020 rate. So let me see, 92% of total deposits is CASA and 8% is non-CASA. So 92%, let me share it in that manner. And then I have 8% being non-CASA, 8% of this. So I think with this, I'm set, right? Let me copy and paste as values. Then I know we have our figures fully updated for us to proceed to our assignment for today. So I have everything. Fidelity is kind of like funny. And the reason is that Fidelity have not brought out their annual report. So it's difficult to get a gross loan, right? EcoBank, there are some bit of issues with that. EcoBank investments were a bit of issues. So I'm a bit careful when I look at some of these things, right? Especially in 2019 and 2024. So I'll be raising concerns on that, on those things as we go through. Right. So I think it's time for us to get into the business for today. A question here. NLT said that I may have missed it in the previous session, but I have a question. If you are modeling a company like Cal listed on the exchange, do you use the group numbers, which includes the asset management side? Oh, no. That's a good question, man. But it's a bank that is listed, not a group, right? So use the bank figures. So we focus on the bank. So we are looking at the bank. Even with GCB, we are looking at the bank. All right, let's do something. So all we're going to do is this. We have our assumption sheets developed. We have base case, best case, worst case. Currently, they all have the same figures. But those figures I mentioned earlier that they are base case figures. And then we will later make adjustment to the best case and the worst. Okay, now we want to structure this across multiple scenarios. You want to be able to have a model that can run across multiple, about 3 scenarios: a best case scenario, base case scenario, and worst case scenario. But we don't want to manually do this. Okay, we want to set it down and then we can switch between scenarios easily. In that case, when we extend this to the actual valuation tool, because it's the same worksheet that workbook that we're going to do the valuation in. When we get to the valuation tool, we can actually look at various scenarios and the value they create, right? So in that case, we've created the assumptions for each of the cases. Then we create another one called live case. This is where the changes and assumptions will be happening. We are not going to create any assumption here manually. All the assumptions will be created in the base, the best, and the worst. In the live case, all we are going to be doing will be to link the base case, the worst case, and the best case. Now, we will be using this drop-down button here in the live case. We'll use this drop-down button to alternate between scenarios. So with this, we are able to alternate from base to best to worst. But in that case, we need to first link these live sheets. It has to be linked. Once we link it to the various scenarios, then we're able to do that. Now, there are several functions that you can use in Excel to do that. One is the choose function, but we're going to use another function called switch function. So we can switch between scenarios. Now, when you look at the way I've written the various scenarios, I have base case and look at the way it's written. The initials are all capitalized: base case, best case, and worst case. You need to be cautious of that. So I'm going to come here and let me set all of these things to the first scenarios, first items here, customer deposit. So I'll come to live and look at what I'm going to do. I'm going to do is call to, then I will invoke this function, switch. Now, switch is asking me a question. It said there must be an expression, the expression here, and we are going to anchor it to, you make it absolute. So I press function and F4. I'm using I'm using how they call it, Dell laptop. This is Microsoft. If you're using Apple, the shortcut may be different, right? But then I make this absolute. Then I come here. What I'm going to do is that I'm asking Excel to always reference this place. Whatsoever popped up is what is going to return. So I said, well, do this, and since base case is a string variable, we type base case, and I'm saying that if you reference this place and what you see is base case, then go to base case worksheet and go and pick what the current account YOY will be. So base case worksheet, I go there and I pick the current account, the value there in the current account. Then the second one is best case. Say if best case is the one that comes up, then go to best case worksheet and pick the value there, the same value. Then the last one is worst case. Worst case. Now I need to put it, it's a string variable, right? So worst case. If worst case is what pops up there, then you go to worst case and pick what you have here, current account. Then you can close this. So here is base case. I'm on base case, therefore is returning base case. So I come here, I can drag this to the end, but I'll copy without formatting, right? So that my color format doesn't change. Then I have this also here like this. So it's able to return everything. And because I'm in base case, if I change to worst case and also to best case, the things tend to change. But this is the whole idea here. You know, the historicals will still be the same. What will be changing will be the focus assumptions, right? Let me show you something. Let me move from base case to worst case, and let's see. I went from base case to worst case and all those things. You see that the things are actually changing, but because the figures or the values are the same, you will not see them changing. Let me go to best case and delete everything from here, the best case, and let's see how it works. So I go back to base case again, the live case again, and I change from, I move back first to base case. You see base case, you see the assumptions and the forecast period have changed. Now let me bring it back to best case. You see it all tends to 0, 0 because there is nothing there. I hope that is very clear. All right. So that's all we've done for the first one. One thing is that regarding the top 5 banks and all that, I can do the same, but maybe one thing I can say is that let me be on the live case. On a live case there, regarding matters on top 5 banks, microeconomy, I may not need them here because this is just a live case, right? So I may tend to delete them entirely, right? But they can still remain on the best case and the worst case and the base case worksheet. I can still have that. So I can delete these ones here. I may not need them. All I need is this. So this is what I need. So what we're going to do is that we'll work on funding. When we are done with funding, then we'll project funding, then we'll go do the rest as well. So deposit from banks and other financial institutions. Let's do that as well. What I can do, let me say this, is that let me bring back this. Yeah, let me bring it back first. There is something I want to say. Because the dimensions of everything I'm doing is the same, like the way I structured the slides, right? The worksheet. This stuff from customer deposit, which is worksheet 10, the row 10 to borrowing, ending of borrowing, which is row 30. When you check it across the base case, you would see the same thing, this thing 30. And if you go to worst case 2, you are going to see the same thing up to 30. And also worst case. So because I'm consistent in how I structure a table, I have this and done this and I brought it back. Because I'm consistent, I can just copy the formula here and it will work wherever I copy it to. It will work. It will work. So it will work because of the arrangement. So I can do that here as well. It will all work. And I can also copy the formula here as well, and it should also work. They're all starting from the same values, so they should work entirely. So I'm done with how I want to link the things for customer deposit. Maybe let me just link for the rest as well. The term loans and all that, I can link that also. I just have to take the formula, copy it again. It's consistent across, so it should work once I drag the same formula and it's picking the correct things. This, you see, these are some of the benefits of structuring your things properly. That's why we work on a single slide, a worksheet first. We realize that it's consistent. Once we realize that everything is correct, then we tend to triplicate that. Okay, so we have 3 scenarios. And now it's paying dividends. Whatever we did earlier is paying dividends now. Okay. But we need to be careful of something, because once we get to the impairment and allowance, I think that's where some alignment is. But I'll go and update that so I have that consistency here as well. When I go to the base case assumption, the impairment, BOG impairment start from 61, row 61. When I go to best case, it starts from BOG impairment start from 61 as well. When I go to worst case, BOG impairment start from 61. Let's check live case. Live case to start from 61. Oh, then I'm safe. So I can still do the same thing. I'll just copy this. What am I doing? And paste the formula and drag down here, then to populate the rest as well. Okay. But I need to check for non-player trading asset. I think maybe that's where some differences will be. Other investments start from 71. And in the worst case scenario, it starts from 71 as well. Then best case scenario, it starts from 71. Base case, it starts from 72. Good. So it's where some of the issues start coming from. So this also starts from 71. So best case 71, worst case 71, and live case 71. All right. So once I have that right, I can proceed to link that as well in this manner. So I have that, and then I can do this here as well. For this, if not for this, like it would have taken a lot of time to work with all these scenarios, but now it's going to be easier. It's easier to work with the scenarios than I earlier thought. All right. So we have this also. Then finally, under this, we have this. And then the fixed asset side also, let's populate that as once. Fixed asset side as well. So depending on which, all we need to do, we'll just be switching between scenarios using a drop-down button. That's all. That's what we'll be doing. And everything on this worksheet will be changing to correspond to the scenario we are selecting. That's the power of SL. Now, so then we move to taxation. Let's fill that also quickly. And then let's fill the taxation too quickly. So you see, if the formulas are not right, the numbers wouldn't be this consistent. You know what we did when we're looking at taxation, right? The numbers wouldn't be consistent, and we know these are in days. So we put them in days, and these ones are in days. Employee pensions. So we have this also done here. Then dividend payouts. Then from here, we go to P&L account. We go to the P&L account from here. So balance sheet is over. So the scenario for balance sheet, scenario prime for balance sheet is over. We go to P&L. You want to handle P&L now. Yeah, these are all very, very accurate figures that we dealt with. Then we come here. Oh, sorry. So we come here and do the same thing here. So this non-funded income growth rate, and then we do that for fee and commission. You see, if I've done this before coming here, it may be confusing to you because you'll be wondering how I was able to do all this. But given that I'm doing that right here with you, you see how easy it is. Sometimes it's painful doing all this, but for educational purposes, it's better to do this in front of participants so you can see how easy it is to put all this together. Then move to cost. So income is done, cost is on now. So we link cost as well. Once we put in we draw the first formula, we are cool to go. So, so this fee and commission expense side of things, and then we then move to personnel, and we are left with one more to complete it after personnel. So we have this, and after personnel, all we are left with now is other operating expenses. Then that will end our work as far as this particular aspect is concerned. Okay. So we have our scenarios here. So when we switch from one case to another, things will be changing. Okay. Maybe let me make the cases. Let me change the white to automatic rather. So black. Okay. Let me make this also. Let me bold this, okay? Okay. Think with this here, I can delete these items, the nominal GDP stuff and kind of things here, right? So this is where the alignment will start changing, but don't panic. Well, I don't want to have those top 5 banks and things here. I can have it on the individual assumption sheet, but not here. I don't care to have it here. So I have all these. Let me see where I made reference to the industry again. Those will be, then I think here as well, I made those reference. And hotels. We have here. Okay. There's one thing I wanted to include, especially on the side of the expenses that had to do with the average inflation rate. I've not added that, the inflation rate, but of course, let's start and we'll get back to each of those things. Good. So guys, so we have our live case, and it's our live case we are going to link to the model. We are not going to link the base case. We have linked the base case, best case, and worst case to the live. So the live will then be linked to the model, and then we are in business. Now let's do the linking. Let's start with the deposits. So I want to bring the deposit worksheet closer to me. So that's the funding. Let me bring it closer to the live, so I can do the linking easily. So what I do, come to deposit here, customer deposits over a forecast period. I need to be able to forecast that. So I'm doing the forecast for deposits based on year-on-year growth. And these are the year-on-year growth I have here. This should be very easy to do. All I do is to do this, the 2024 figure, multiplied by 1 plus the growth rate here in the live sheet. And I've arranged my things really well. So I can just drag to down, then to my right, then we are done with deposit based on the rates we are the growth rate we are using. So deposit is done. Once deposit is done, I can link it to what I have at the top here. This already linked. So I'll just drag it to this and fill without formatting. So deposit is done. So this is deposit. And maybe I can change the formula this thing here, the total here, to bear this color instead. Maybe, or maybe this color. Let me use the color painter. Oh no, that would change something here. I don't want something to be changed. So let me just come here and how you look for this. So this is what we've done. So that's customer deposit is done. Next is to do for deposit from banks. So the same thing. So the previous year times 1 plus, we go to the live case and we look for deposit from banks. And that is this. So bracket close. And then we hit enter. Then we drag down. Then to our right. We are done. So we go link this also. Deposit from banks. We link that as well. Fill without formatting. The next thing we forecast is borrowings. We forecast borrowings. So this one, we're going to have this previous times 1 plus, then we go to the live case and look for the growth in borrowings. It gives me this. Then I drag to my right, I fill without formatting. And then, I mean, the total, of course, I said I'm going to use this color. And here to the total, I use this color. And then I go link the borrowing to the top, at the top. So here we will have also the total funding now settled. So we are done with funding. You see how easy this is. Once you set up your worksheet, when you projecting things, it becomes easier for you, right? Because your worksheet is properly set up. So that is it. That is it, guys. That's it, guys. Now, that's for funding. So we can say funding is done. The base case funding. And the live case we are working on now is on the base case. So the live here now is the base case, right? So that's what we are running. And that is what we have. So I can close. I can say that the funding is done. I can put funding aside and go to something else. So let me put aside funding. And so because banks is a balance sheet that drives the P&L, that's why we started with the balance sheet items. The next thing is that now we know our funding, we can work with our assets because the assets are funded by the deposit. So we have the earning asset here. Let's work on earning asset. Now, the earning asset is a bit troublesome, but not anything difficult, right? So you just have to pay maybe pay more attention to this side now. We need to do for gross. So we'll do the gross loans projections. We do the projections by the class of gross. You see, the interesting thing is that the gross loans here I have by class and also by credit quality. And I would like us to do the projection by class. But then when we have the projection by class, we then distribute it across the credit quality, right? We distribute it across the credit quality. That's what we do once we do the projection by class. So projection by class, we have the term loans here. We take the previous one, multiply by the same approach we use, right? We go to live, and when we go to live, we go to the column for assets. We have gross assets here. So we multiply by 2025 on assets. Apply this. We drag down, then we drag to our right. We are done. So this is gross loan. Okay, this is gross loan. We are done gross loan. However, because we need to compute this kind of impairment and kind of stuff, we are going to distribute this gross loan across this year, right? That will help us to get the gross loan and advance distribution by credit quality. And we need to make assumption about how we think the distribution should be like. So when we go to the live case, on the live case, you see oh, I didn't bring this here. One thing is that there's one thing I forgot to bring, right, guys? I wanted to bring how the distribution will be. That will be an assumption on its own. I was like, I should have jotted this down somewhere. That is something I wanted to do. So that should actually come below the gross loan. Okay, something like this. It should have come below something like this. So what I'm going to do is that I'll go to base case. I'm going to create that now. The distribution of the gross loan. And since we are done with funding, maybe let me close the funding. Let me close the funding side. These things are not showing, so I can close the funding, but it's not quite showing. I'm on this side, right? Let me create some space here, maybe up to 11. Let me address for the first one to see. So I'm inserting these, and I want to have, let me copy this and paste here, something like this. I'll call this gross loan. This is gross loan advanced by class, and this will be gross loans advanced by credit. So by this one, I'm looking at, okay, by credit quality. Let me just call it like that for now. So I'll say this is gross loan advanced distribution by credit quality. And so here, when I go to earning asset, I have them here. There are 5: current, account, or current, OLM, substandard, doubtful, and loss. I explained all this earlier today. So I can go back to the base case, then I put all of them here. So there are 5 in number. Oh, but there's a problem. That's not how I want to present it. I want to present it this way. Rather kind of like percentages, right? So the percentage distribution, this is what I want to do. So we do the current as percentage of total gross loan, OLM as percentage of total gross loan, and those kind of stuff, right? That's what I want to do. That's what I want to do. So let's see how it looks like. I go to pick them up. These are things I really dislike doing. I finish everything and I have to go back and create more slides and more rules and do some kind of stuff. It's just boring sometimes. And because we are looking at relatives, the figure doesn't matter. So we may maintain things maybe to start with on 2024 levels, right? And the 2024 percentage levels. Okay, something like this. So let me delete this and see where I'll start things from. So I'm going to move asset allocation to row 57. So I'll go to best case. I'm looking at asset allocation. I want to move it to row 57. So I move this down to row 57. Yeah. And then once I do that, I go to worst case to let me create that also done. I move asset allocation to row 57. Row 57. I set that to row 57. Great. And I go back to the base case and I say, well, I need to insert something like this. Row 47 to row 50. 53. So row 47 up to row 53, that's what it covers. And here to row 47 up to row 53, that's what it covers here as well. And then live case, I'll look at that soon. But if you look at it, it's still picking the correct things, right? It's still picking the correct things, and that's the beautiful part of it. And each of them is picking the correct thing. It's picking the correct thing. It's picking the correct thing. Good, 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 good. Then, so I've inserted this distribution, right? Then let me go to the live case. And what I want to do on the live case is that I'm going to do the same below. So I'll move the asset allocation down, but I know the arrangement have changed here, so I can't do the same 57 kind of stuff. So I come here and I copy this. On a live case, I put it here. Live case, let me create one more. This thing here. So this is where I'm going to do a formula. But in this case, the question is whether my formulas, I can just copy them and put them. I can't just do that at all. I just like that. So I need to put in the switch formula again. So I do the switch, and my expression is this. I anchor it, and then I said this, comma, anchor this. I said if it is base case, if it is base case, then go pick the base case. Oh, sorry. If it is base case, if it is base case, then go pick the base case, go to base case and pick this, comma. Then again, I say, then again, I say, if it is, let's say best case, if it is best case, then go to the best case worksheet and pick the best case here as well. And then the last one, if it is worst case, then go to the worst case sheet and pick the worst case, right? That's what we do. Enter, and then we have this here. Then you're able to drag. Then drag here as well, and drag, fill with that formatting. We are cool to go, guys. Good. So I have it here. What I've been looking forward to do. I have it here. Now, so what we do, so we are on the earning assets. We have been able to project the gross loans and advances. The next thing we need to do is to do the credit distribution of these gross loans and advances. And that is simply this. We pick the total gross loans and advances as projected here. Look at it well. I'm picking the total gross loans and advances as projected at the top here. And then I'm going to lock it. But this is how I want to do my locking. I want to be, when I drag down, I want it to not to change, but so vertically I want it to be anchored, but horizontally I want it to be changing, right? To be dynamic. So I'm going to lock it here. So I'm going to lock the vertical side of it. And then I'm going to multiply this by the distribution in the live. So this distribution here over the forecast period. Are you getting a point? You see where I'm putting the cursor here, 2025 current. So I hit enter. And then when I do that, the total must be consistent. So this is 14.8 billion. This is 14.8 billion. Remember, the figures are in thousands, right? And so it's consistent. So the forecast, we are assuming that the forecast will take this trend. Okay. So you can see that the forecast for loans is actually, gross loan is the same as the one here when classified by credit, the same thing. I think I can take off these yellow things, right? So it doesn't disrupt you to think there's something wrong with my figures. So I just maybe check this one and paint this and paint this as well. I highlighted this to explain something to you, which I did already. Now, so this is by credit quality, distribution by credit quality, right? And then once we have this distribution by credit quality, we are dealing with the loans first, right? The loans and advances to customers. That's what we're dealing with first. Once we're done with the distribution by credit quality, then we can move to the impairment calculation. The impairment calculation. So what is impairment for gross loan? So this is the table for impairment for gross loan. We were told something that depending on the classification of the loan, we have the impairment rate. So, for example, a loan that is considered current classification will be multiplied by a certain percentage to give its impairment. So what's that percentage? We go to the live sheet. On the live sheet, we can find that percentage. And here it is, impairment allowance, BOD guideline. So we have this, 1%. So we multiply that, and that gives us 120, right? And so we drag down and then to our right. So that is it. We are done with the impairment computation for the loans. Now that we finish with impairment computation for the loan, we can link the things to the loan actually. So here, this is the net loans and advances table. There we can get the working for the gross loans. The gross loans, if you see where they are linked to this gross loan by class. So we can actually drag that to our right. Wonderful. So that is done. Then we have interest in suspense. Going forward, as I mentioned, there will not be any interest in suspense because GCB has started creating the interest in suspense within the gross loans. Okay, so the gross loan in 2024, as I said earlier, has been adjusted for interest in suspense, and therefore, when we do the forecast, we assume same. Allowance for impairment, we can actually go pick that, but now we must put some negative by it. We go to the allowance for impairment we've just computed now. We pick that there. And we have this, right? Yeah, we have this as allowance for impairment. And so this will be the loan balances going forward. This will be the loan balances going forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the loan is concerned, we are done. Maybe one last thing to do will be to bring the impairment summary, impairment loss summary. There are some things I would like to say about this impairment loss thing, so that people who watch me online, maybe you listening to me or somebody having to watch this later, may be wondering why I did what I'm doing here. I told you that impairments of loans are coming from two main sources: off balance sheet and on balance sheet. Going forward, I'm considering just the on balance sheet, right? And of course, it's the on balance sheet that you adjust against the loans and advances. So that is what we're doing here. So these are on balance sheet stuff, right? And so I've linked the impairment thing to the top here. And also let me link the net loans. Net loans, you can see that they are linked from the net loans table. So I can just drag it further up here. Then I'm done with net loans entirely now. Now, so having done with net loans, the next thing will be for us to let's handle advances to other banks and financial institutions. Let me connect my laptop to power. Now I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so let's handle the advances to banks and other financial institutions. Then we'll come back to handle the investment in securities. Advances to banks and other financial institutions. So you see the gross placement with other banks, and then because it's just a single item, I tend to summarize all of them here, right? The gross placement with other banks, and also allowance for impairment, and then that got noted up and knocked against that, and we have the net. So this is actually, you see the net placement, right? I'm changing this with other banks. And then, yeah, so roughly that is it. Let's work on that. Now, so let's focus the gross placements. And that's basically the previous times 1 plus the live. We go to live document, and we are looking for the advances to banks. Of course, we have it here, right? Gross advances to banks. We have it here. So we have that forecasted. And for impairment, now this is the whole case. When you look at GCB's reporting, you see that the distribution or the gross advances to banks, classification by credit quality, sorry, they are all part of the current, right? They all fall within the current category. But in 2024, they didn't make any provision for impairment in respect of advances to banks. I don't know why. Even the one historically made, you will see that from 2020 it has been the same balance until 2024. Of course, they review perhaps and realize that there's no need for impairment. So going forward, I'm also going to allow, I don't think there's a need for any serious impairment here. So I'm going to leave it the way it is like this. Then I would rather leave it like that. I'll rather leave it like that. So I'm not charging any impairment on advances to banks. And of course, it's not any serious area like that. So there's no need to worry much about that. Now, so advances to banks, we have them here. We have to go link them to the top. So in respect of the impairment is 0. So we go pick them. We go to that side and pick, there's no impairment here, so well, we link that to the top, so just to fill these sides up. And then at the top here, we need to have the net advances to banks and other financial institutions, so we just go pick it up. Advances to banks and other financial institutions, and so we pick this one here, and then we track, and that gives us, so far we are done with that one. So we left with net investment in securities. Now, this is a whole idea. With the net investment in securities, how we're going to forecast it. The forecasting methodology is going to work this way. We have the gross, let me look for the gross. The gross investment securities are in this way. Short-term, medium-term, and long-term, and all those kind of stuff, right? All we're going to do is that we're not going to forecast these things directly. If you look at the base case, how we set the basis for the forecasting, we kind of like just taking the distribution, right? The proportion of loans and advances to the total, whatever. And so once we know loans advances, we are able to calculate also for investment securities, but that will give us total investment securities and not necessarily the proportion that will be short-term, medium-term, or long-term, when we discuss this, because I'm looking at investment securities and I'm checking the business model is more of opportunistic rather than deterministic. So deterministic approaches like loans, we make decisions, we grant loans like this, blah, blah, blah. For investment securities, at some point, the opportunity brings itself, and that is where we determine what to do, right? That's wonderful. And of course, that's all we want to, the approach that we're going to be using. So you can see the approach will be more of like deciding on what the loans are and then using that as basis to forecast how the investment securities are based on the relationship between the loans and investment securities historically. But there's something I'm missing out of the assumptions I should have brought, which is after I decide what the total investment securities should be, I need to also make decision around the distribution between or among the medium term, short term, and the long term, right? I've not done that, and that's one problem with my working. So, like I always do, I'm going to drag this down again in the base case. And then I'll insert that particular table there to do that. So let me do that quickly. Let me do that quickly. And so I need to have, maybe let me pick it from the top here. Let me pick it from the top here, maybe here. Then I put it here. I need to know, let me just keep 3 rows in between. Okay. And so what I'll do is that I know the allocation, and I also want to know investment securities, the proportion to the total, right? So if I go here, I see the long-term investment or short-term investment as percentage of total investment securities, blah, 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 and all that. So those are the things I'm going to pick. So I pick that and I place them here. And so those are the kind of things I want to focus, right? So I just go to the earning asset worksheet and I pick that here. So the distribution of the investment securities among the various classes in terms of the terms, right? The term structure. So regarding forecast, I want to base the forecast on, let's say, 2024 numbers to start with. So I'll base the forecast on 2024 numbers. So this is how the forecast will be. And you can see that they must sum up to 100%, right? So I need to repeat this across. This is starting from, I have to move gross advances to row 74. So I go to base case, gross advances must be moved to row 74. So let me move that to row 74. That is done here. I go to worst case, I do the same thing. I move it up to row 74. Row 74. And that is done here as well. I go to the live case, I do the same. Gross advances, I move it to row 74. No, live case won't work like that, right? Because live case, I've deleted some slides. So let me just create something here. So I'll go to base case and I want to take us over at base case. I'm going to paste it on row 66. So I go to row 66, I paste it there. That, you see, everything is here, you know, everything is still linked, right? Then I go to the worst case as well. I paste it there, row 66. And then for the live case too, I do the same. Maybe not here, not on row 66 necessarily, but I just paste it on this row. Yeah. Coming to the base case, KGA in this case will be not applicable, right? KGA will be not applicable. And then when it comes to best case too, KGA will be not applicable. In fact, I can then copy this KGA and go to worst case and place the same thing there, not applicable. Okay, so coming to the live case, this is where I'll put in the formula, right? Once again. So the formula will be switch. So switch, and then I'm going to anchor this worksheet or this particular formula, comma. Then if it is base case, comma, you go to base case and pick what is here. If it is best case, you go to best case worksheet and pick whatsoever is here. And then if it is worst case, you go to the worst case sheet and pick worst case value. And then we close the bracket. So currently, our worksheet, we are working with the base case. So we have this here currently. And I drag that through. So here we are cool. So now we can completely forecast the investment securities. So let's do that. So we come to investment securities, gross investment securities. First, as I mentioned, we need to forecast the total investment securities, and that is based on something. We know the value of loans that we currently have. Loans, we forecast loans in this manner. We can pick the total loans we forecast. Here, we pick this, total loans forecasted. But we know the loan to, or the total gross loans to gross loan plus gross investment securities ratio. And that we know in the, we go to the live sheet and we can find that. And that is this. This is a formula. This is the, so here we are forecasting that the gross earning assets, which is made up of gross loans and gross investment securities, 44% of it will be loans. So once we know the loan forecast, we know 44% of that, or that constitutes 44%. So if we hit enter, this will be the total investment securities. This will be the total investment securities that the bank should be looking at. Okay. And you'll be wondering, hey, is this not too high? Let's check it out. I'm coming in. This is not the total investment security. This is the total gross earning asset, right? Because we're taking the loan forecast divided by the proportion of the loan. That gives us the total forecast gross earning asset. And knowing that to get the proportion that is investment securities, that should be easy. One thing I can say is that because given that this is the total for the earning asset, we can multiply that by 1 minus the portion that belongs to the loan. So that would be to go back to the life and pick this portion that belongs to the loan out again. And with this, we are able to get the value for investment securities. So this is the total value for investment securities. Now that we know the total value for investment securities, to even continue with the work, I want to log some of these values. I want us to be able to log the verticals or the rows. So we're going to log the rows. We log the rows in each case. And so we can actually drag down and nothing happens. We log the rows. I think we've logged it sufficiently. So when we drag down, it will still be the same value, right? So it tells us that it's been logged. But if we drag to the right, the values change. So we are cool to go. So this is a total value of investment securities. But out of this total value of investment securities, we want to determine the proportion that belongs to short-term investment, medium-term investment, and long-term investment. So we are going to multiply everything we have here again so that you understand the formula. Let me put everything in bracket again and then multiply the entire bracket. I think that will be easier for a lot of you. So I'll multiply the entire bracket by the proportion of short-term, long-term, medium-term, and long-term, which we have just calculated here. That's why we created that table. So here is it. So we do that. That can be dragged down. And then you can see the consistency, right? You see the smooth groove in each of these things. Then we have this. You can see the smooth groove, right? You can see clearly how this is growing smoothly. And if you see the implied growth in investment securities, it's 24%. That's the implied growth in investment securities, 24%. And that's beautiful, right? If you look at it compared to the history has been quite erratic. That's the reason why we were not able to use the history, but that's not bad. When you go to base case, for example, looking at the KIGA, let's go to the life in the KIGA. KIGA in investment securities. I'm not sure I've calculated that, but we can calculate something here like this. Let's look at the KIGA historically. The KIGA 5-year period, the present value, the future value is this. Let's see the KIGA. The KIGA is 20%. So it's closer, right? KIGA is 20%, and we are forecasting 24% investment securities. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. All right. So we have that for gross investment securities. Now, having gross investment securities, the other thing is, how about the impairment in investment securities? Because investment securities of late are suffering from impairment as well. They are subject of credit risks. But what I want to say, as far as that is concerned, is that there are some things, nuances associated with that. I don't want to worry myself regarding the impairment loss on this. So these are one of the things that I'm going to mark down for now. We may come back later to make adjustment when our model is entirely done. There's a reason why, because if you read the GCB financial statement and the notes on the way the impairments are done on the investment is some way, and not that it's difficult, but how the things were presented, because the DDP issues and a whole lot of things. So we will come back to this as special case. So I don't want this to delay the work we're doing today. Okay, so I'm going to assume that the impairment value is not changing. In other words, if I maintain it, it won't affect my financial statement. So I'll maintain the previous year impairment balance, and that is all I want to do. So this is all we have. I'll just maintain the previous year impairment balance. So we will then link the net investment securities here as well. If you look at it, it's picking right from the this table here, the gross investment securities less impairment. So it's picking right from there, right? That's what is happening. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And then I also drag this to get my impairment also presented here. So generally, I think earning assets is done. Let me just do some polishing there and there, and then we move to other components of assets quickly. We're making great progress. These ones alone that we've done so far, I'm glad it's been smooth. And I believe you've understood the basic things we've been doing. This is actually not difficult stuff, right? They are pretty much basic as far as this modeling work is concerned. Okay, so earning asset is fully done. So we can move it back, and so we bring something else closer. So now that we've done with funding, maybe we can handle the other balance sheet items now. So let's look at other balance sheet items and have them all linked. This starts with, let me see, my life. Yeah, it's other balance sheet items that follows in my assumption sheet. So non-pledged trading asset. But it's not a non-pledge that starts for me here. I think what starts for me here is investment in subsidiary. So let's start with investment in subsidiary. Investment in subsidiary. So it's the same thing. We pick the previous multiplied by 1 plus the growth rate, and investment in subsidiary. We expect that the growth rate will be 0.00. That's the reason why. One reason why I didn't analyze it individually, because I expect to keep these things all constant there. These things have to be kept at a constant rate. They are not supposed to be changing. And investment in associates, same thing here. It's going to be kept at a constant rate, but we don't want to just keep it constant. We want to apply some growth rate, and the growth rate is 0, right? Once the growth rate is 0, yes, what it means is that we expect to keep them constant. Then investment other than security. So These are shares the bank bought and all that. I explained all these things yesterday, and we're going to keep these things constant as well. We don't expect them to grow. So we keep them constant. So we go to investment other than whatever, and the growth rate is 0% as well. So we're keeping them for the purpose of forecasting. We're keeping them constant. Now, the next thing is non-pledge trading assets. Well, those ones will grow, and we came out with some basic group assumptions. So non-pledge trading assets, these ones will grow, right? So we have that here. And other assets and liabilities, if you've been following me, one thing I said about this is that we are going to have this forecast on the basis of days. Okay, the days are standing. That's one thing I said we're going to be doing. So what we do here, you focus it on the basis of operating expenses. If you look at the assumptions we have in the live case here, I think we've not even gotten into that, guys. It looks like I'm running beyond myself. What I'll do is that this is other investment in financial assets. We've just completed those assumptions. We've completed assumptions for the ones here as well. So the next class of assumptions is supposed to be fixed assets and depreciation. Maybe let's work in that order first. And so what it means is that we will come back to the other assets and liabilities, employee obligation, and current assets. We'll come back to them soon. Okay. So let me go to fixed asset first. So I do my things consistently. I'm consistent with the approach I'm using. Fixed assets, the forecasting, of course, the opening balances for the cost. I have to drag the opening balances for cost, and then what will be the additions? Well, we have a formula here. We said that PPE CAPEX to depreciation ratio. So how we computed that, we can find it here. CAPEX to depreciation ratio, we computed it as the depreciation for a year divided by, or the CAPEX for a year divided by the depreciation for a year. So I mean, whatsoever the depreciation is, that is what we are going to use as CAPEX. But look, going forward, that's going to be difficult to do. Otherwise, it will result in a circular reference error, because the depreciation calculation itself is going to be dependent on the cost. So we can't do it this way going forward. What we can do going forward is that we will base the CAPEX projection on the previous year's depreciation, right? So we'll pick the depreciation for the previous year and multiply it by the CAPEX to depreciation ratio. And look at what I'm doing. I'm going to the live sheet and I'm going to look for CAPEX to depreciation ratio in 2025, and that is this. And I'm picking it, right? I enter and I have this, and that's what I'm going to drag. So the subsequent years, I'll need the depreciation. Then we multiply by the depreciation to CAPEX ratio in that order. Disposal, we are not projecting any disposal, so we are done with CAPEX, the historical cost. We are done with historical costs. We come to accumulated depreciation. The opening balance will be the closing balance for the previous year. And then what do we do? Charge for the year. How do we calculate charge for the year? Let's check it out. The depreciation charge for the year, average depreciation, we took we calculated it based on the average historical cost, right? The opening balance and the closing balance. So here we do the same. So we are going to pick the depreciation rate, 2025 depreciation rate, the under depreciation policy, which is here 10%. And then we're going to multiply that by the average of, we multiply by the average of, then we go to fixed assets, the opening balance, and the closing balance. So this is what we're going to do. And then we hit enter, and that gives us the average. So we have this calculated. So this is the depreciation. We drag that, and we are good to go. Now, So when we take the historical cost and we subtract the accumulated depreciation, it gives us the net book value. So that is it. We are not going to do anything for disposal, revaluation, right? Or we don't care about that, right? So we are done with PPE. So we go to intangible asset. We do the same. The closing balance for the previous year becomes the opening balance the current year. And then we do the same for the CAPEX as well. So we pick the amortization from the previous year, which is the charge year, and we multiply it by the ratio. And the ratio is intangible asset to amortization ratio, which is this 2025. We hit enter. This is what we have. We drag it. And then we come to the accumulated amortization. We pick the closing balance as the opening balance here. Otherwise, your balance sheet will not be in balance, guys. And then the charge for the year is based on the rate of depreciation here multiplied by the average of the opening balance of historical cost and the closing balance of historical cost. And then we do that, we hit enter, then it gives us our depreciation, and then our amortization, then we have this done here. Well. Let me check something quickly. And amortization rates, okay, here is higher. Okay, so let me make these ones percentages, actually. Okay, good. Now, so that is for the fixed asset. So fixed asset is completely done. So we move the fixed asset back. It's completely done. So any question? No question. It seems things are moving smoothly, right? So we move back to the live assumption. So fixed asset is done. So currently, now we finish with funding, we finish with earning assets, we finish with other investment and financial assets, then we finish with fixed asset, then we are left with others in order to finish with the balance sheet forecasting. I think there is a question. Ibrahim said, why not use the if switch function to enable an iterative calculation, which avoid the circular reference? Okay, so when I say the circular reference, maybe let me explain. I don't know if you got me on a circular referencing. So what I mean is that, you see, to calculate the depreciation for the year, I'm basing the depreciation for the year on the average of the opening historical cost and the closing historical cost, right? So I'm basing depreciation for the year on that. Now, if I'm also basing additions on the same depreciation, then the result is circular referencing, right? Because to get a closing balance of historical cost to calculate the depreciation on, you need the addition. Now the addition is also dependent on the depreciation for a year. So that's the source of the circular referencing. I don't know if that's right, or I'm the one not understanding the methodology you are trying to propose. Okay. Next item is taxation, but we will leave taxation now because we are here to do the P&L. So let's go straight to other assets and liabilities. First, let's do the forecasting there and get back. So other assets and liabilities here, we are doing that based on this, right? So, you know, sometimes when I do these things, I tend to bring out the day, maybe set up a proper working capital schedule to forecast this, but that's not quite important here. I think you can still get it if I do it like this. What I want to do is that because I know the days outstanding, I'm going to do this. I'll go to where I have operating expenses, and the operating expenses I use here, you see that it's based on the fee and commission expense personnel expense, and other operating expenses, right? Those three. So I'm going to sum those three up. So I'll go to cost. I'll go to cost. And here under cost, I come up here, the total. So I'm going to look for, I'm going to sum up in 2025, fee and commission. There's nothing there. I'm just summing up empty spaces. I'll sum them up, personnel, and the final one is other operating expenses. I sum them up. That gives me my total operating expenses. There are 365 days in the year, so I divide by 365 to get the average operating expenses per day. Okay, or in other words, to get average, or average operating expenses per day. Okay, or operating expenses per day, like, or average daily operating expenses. So that's what I've gotten it when I divide by 365. And then after dividing by 365, when I get the daily, then I'm told that a proportion has been outstanding. So at certain, since this is the daily, and they are telling me that a number of days of these expenses is being outstanding. So I'll go to the live case, and in the live case, we have projection of the number of days outstanding. For other assets, it is this. So, and we are forecasting for other assets. So this is the number of days outstanding. So you multiply that by that and you drag. Well, I'm going to take the same formula. I don't want to do the same thing because I need the same figures. Oh, sorry. What am I doing? I need the same P&L items. So here, I'll just go ahead and multiply it on a live sheet by the days outstanding for other liabilities, right? And I'm done with this one as well. So once I fill the operating expenses, all these areas should also be filled, right? That is it. Let me just do some few these things here. Format these things a bit. So we are done with other assets and other liabilities as well. So that is it for other assets and other liabilities. Let me do this. Okay, good. Now, what's the next thing? Employee obligation is the next thing to do. Now, so with employee obligation, the closing balance becomes, in 2024, becomes opening balance in 2025. And then we drag that. Then what we need to do, I told you that the gain and loss on actuarial remeasurement, I'm not going to mind this when I'm forecasting things. I'm just going to be concerned with the net expenses and also the benefits. Those are the things I'm going to concern with. And then the net expenses, you know what I did? I divided the net expenses here by a certain item in cost, which should be personnel expenses, right? So the cost row 69, when I go to cost, row 69, the row 69 has to do with, let's go to row 69, that has to do with the total personnel expenses. So what I've done actually is that to get the net expense, to forecast the net expense, I want to forecast it based on personnel expenses that we will be calculating. We forecast it based on personnel expenses we'll be calculating. So what we do, we go to the live sheet, we pick the net expense as percentage of personnel expenses. We have it here, and we multiply by the personnel expenses for the year. And of course, we are yet to forecast that, but we can put the formula in there for now. And here is it. This is the personnel expenses, the total. So I'm picking it at least now, and then I'm dragging it. So immediately we forecast personnel expenses, all these areas will automatically be forecasted. And then the benefit paid, it is benefit paid as percentage of employee obligation. That's how we're doing it. And which employee obligation? The opening balance. That's what I'm basing it on. So I'm basing it on opening balance. Therefore, I come here and I say the opening balance here multiplied by the ratio of benefit paid to employee obligation. So multiply that. But because we are making a payment, we must put negative sign by it so that it will be an outflow, right? So that is what we've just done here. Now, so we are done with employee obligation as well. Current tasks, as I mentioned, we are going to base on the P&L, but let's just do some few things here. The closing balance will become opening balance in 2025. So we drag it. And then the charge for the year, let me go and pick the one for P&L. Now, I want to say something. You see, the actual charge for the year may not be consistent with the one on P&L account. Let me be, that is the truth. The actual tax charge for the year may not be consistent with the one in P&L because the way the tax authorities will calculate their tax charge is different from the way the accountants will do. They will not go and apply those flat rates that we've been doing. Is that okay? Now, so I think there is a place where we do a calculation. Let me just check something. I don't know whether it is the expense column. If I go to cost, I think there is an item of tax there. Yes. There's an item of tax. You can see it here. There's an item of tax here. And so all the tax calculations will be here, and then we will link it to the other side. So the way we will calculate the tax here going forward, we are going to apply a flat rate, okay? 25% for corporate tax, 5% for national fiscal, 5% for financial sector recovery. But in actual fact, when the actual assessment is done, it's not this simple. Like there are some few other things that are done. But let me go to the other BS items here. I'm going to do charge for the year. I'm going to link that from, I'll do that from the cost sheet here. And I'm taking a total tax expense here. That will be the charge for the year. So I'm linking that now. We have that like this. And the payments for the year, I'll have to develop an assumption for payment. I can develop assumption and say that the payment will be 75% of the opening balance and the charge for the year. So that's one assumption I can develop. And this one, let me just type it in here. 75% of opening plus charge for the year. Plus charge. I can just say plus charge, right? So 75% of opening plus charge. So that's what I want to do. 75% of opening plus charge. So we have so I can do my 75% like this. And then I have my opening plus the charge here. And then I'm going to calculate 75% on that. And then I put the negative symbol here. And so this is going to be the payment. So all these things will be updated once the charge is calculated. When we come to the deferred tax, with deferred tax, the same thing, the opening balance, and then we drag the opening balance throughout. For movement, no, don't worry about movement. Let's assume that there's no additional movement on deferred tax. When we're doing this forecast, we don't really care about deferred tax, right? Nobody sits to make those temporary assumptions and things over everything. So we just leave it the way it is like this. If it is deferred, as I mentioned yesterday, if it is deferred tax asset, once the bank is making profit, you know that they are going to benefit from that deferred tax asset. So that is it. And then we go to then we are ready or getting ready to go to the revenue side of things to start doing like some computation from the revenue side of things, right? So we are done with the balance sheet items. One thing, we could do the equity session, but we can leave equity, at least for now. Let's finish with the P&L and we'll come back to equity. Now let's go to revenue and complete that of revenue as well, really quick. Now, so we have revenue, we have interest income here and all those kind of stuff. Let's start forecasting interest income. See how it is. You see, I told you that the forecast of interest income will be based on the yield, right? The average yield. The average yield will be the basis for the forecasting of interest income. How did we calculate average yield? It is the interest income divided by the average of the opening and the closing balance of the asset in question. Good. So when we come here, we are going to the life, and on a life, we're going to pick the loan yield and multiply it by the average of, then here we go to earning assets. We go to the earning assets and pick, we multiply by the average of, and I told you that this must be based on the gross investment, the gross earning assets, right? So we go to the gross loans and advances. See, we are doing in loans. We go to the gross loans and go a gross loan by class, and we are dealing with this. So we have to get to the gross loans, and then with a gross loan, we are dealing in 2025. So you pick the opening balance, which is 2024, comma the closing balance, which is 2025, and then we hit enter, and this is the interest income calculated. All right, so we can drag that all through. That is this being done, and we do the same for investment securities as well. So we go to the live sheet and pick the yield on investment securities and multiply it by average of the gross, right? The gross investment securities. So we're going to go to the earning assets worksheet again, and there we look for the gross investment securities, and we have it here. So you pick the one here, the 2024, comma the one here for 2025. Bracket close. I just want to check something quickly so I don't make any mistake. 60. Okay. I made a mistake in picking the earning asset, right? I didn't pick the total. I'm sorry. Let me do that quickly for the loans and advances in earning asset. So when I go to the earning assets, I pick the wrong thing. And these are some of the things you need to be mindful of. You have to be this, comma this. Yeah. Looking at the figures, they are not meaning exactly. I had a better thing. Okay. So I can drag this also. Then the last one is the short-term funds. So with the short-term, it's also on the gross. So I go to live, I pick the yield and multiply it by the average of the short terms. And on the average of the short term, of course, I go to the earning assets. And in the earning assets, I go for gross advances to banks. And this is a gross. Okay, this is the gross. So I pick the 2024 as opening balance, 2025 as closing balance, and then I have this at the yield. I drag this through. I have this. So we are done with interest income forecasting. The next thing to do is the fee and commission income. That's the next forecasting to do. The fee and commission income. Now, with the fee and commission income, how did you intend to forecast it? Let's go to live. What we wanted to do is that we said we don't want to forecast fee and commission income directly. We want to forecast non-funded income. And since fee and commission income is a component of non-funded income, we then see the proportion of the non-funded income that is fee and commission income. Okay, then with that, we're able to forecast fee and commission income. But that will be the total fee and commission income. So based on the total, we then distribute it across, right, the various components of fee and commission income. So let's build the argument up. So first, we want to forecast the non-funded income. We know that the total non-funded income, which is this, the previous year, is what we're going to forecast, right? The total non-funded income, which is this, that non-funded income by source. We're going to multiply it by 1 plus the growth rate we are forecasting for non-funded income. And that growth rate, look up here, non-funded income is this. So let's close the bracket. So this is the total non-funded income for 2025. Out of these, there is a proportion that is for fee and commission. So to get a proportion that will be the forecast for the entire fee and commission, we multiply by the forecast proportion, and that is this in the life. Here, we have fee and commission income as percentage of total non-funded income, which is 13.1%. So we hit enter. So this will be, I think, it is a bit of an error or hot, because this cannot be. Let me check something quickly. Fee and commission as percentage of total non-funded income. I think, let me check this formula here. I go to base case. Let me check the formula in there, because the formula is not looking at something which is accurate on me. Okay, so revenue line D37. Revenue D37 is what? Fee and commission income as percentage of total non-funded income. Is that correct? This fee and commission income, total non-funded income, yes. Oh, this is wrong. You see what's happening here? My formula is wrong, eh? I've been picking, I did it as fee and commission income as percentage of total revenue. Oh my goodness. It's supposed to be total non-funded income. It's supposed to be this. Oh, but I see the interesting thing is this. Once I have this calculated, it gets adjusted in all the cases. Best case, whatever, not best case, all of them get adjusted. All of them get adjusted automatically. Let's check whether that is true. If you go to base case, it get adjusted. Are you seeing that? You go to best case to the same thing. Okay, so the live case to get adjusted. Now it makes sense. You know, sometimes when you work with figures, you can see if things are making sense or not, right? So fee and commission income forecast, exactly, because if 2024 is 780 million, 2025 is 930 million, it makes sense than to say it is some 200 and something million. That's what I saw, and I realized that there's a problem. So this is the forecast for fee and commission income. I just grew the non-funded income 1 year and look at the proportion that we expected to be for fee and commission. So this is fee and commission. But then fee and commission then have some, we need to distribute it among the various items of fee and commission, right? But we want that the total at the end of the day should be 930. We can copy it and paste somewhere and see whether the total at the end of the day will not be 930 when we finish distributing it, right? So let's check whether we won't have it at the end of the day. So what do? We are going to log everything. You log the rows here entirely. So we're going to log the rows. You log the rows here. We log this row as well, and we log this row. So now, so that when we drag, you see, it's the same figure, right? So here we're going to then multiply by the proportion. So go to live and look at the first one, which is LCs, which is letters of credit and guarantees. You see, so it's taking 3.5%, right? That's what we forecasted. So we distribute it, and the total must be 930. You see it here, 936.47, 936.47. We are correct. So we then drag throughout. But there's a drop in 2026. I think we didn't log something properly. Or maybe I'm getting it because let me see something. Something had not been, should I say, properly forecasted. Yes, because if you look at it going forward, for example, look at 2025, it will be based on 2024 forecast, right? look at 2024 for 2027 forecast. We are yet to forecast net trading income and other income. That's why it appears things are looking this way, right? That's why it looks like it's dropping over time. It won't drop. It's going to adjust soon. Once we are done forecasting the rest. And so we proceed and we do for net trading income as well. Net trading income will take the same approach. So if you are like me, you don't want to waste your time too much. So you go and copy the formula that helps you predict or project just the non-foreign income component, which is this figure, and then you multiply it by the proportion that will be for net trading income in total, and that will go to the life, right? And you look for net trading income as percentage of total non-foreign income, and that is this. It's actually 8.3%. Oops, 8.3%. I think there's a problem there as well. Let's take it out. Too low. So let's go to the revenue sheet again. Let me check the formula I have here. Like the same thing we did to the fee and commission, and we realize that there's a mistake. We want to do the same thing here as well. Net traded income as percentage of total listing here. So I go to the non-foreign income. Fee and commission income, we dealt with that. You see, we need to deal with this one as well. So it must be a percentage of the total here. And then this one too must be as percentage of the total here. So these are the errors in my work, right? I take responsibility, full responsibility for this. And then we drag. So now things should be looking better. Now, so when we go back to the net trading income, oh, you see that now. We are forecasting the net trading income to be 576. That's higher than the previous year, right? Now we need to distribute this across. So, of course, as we always do, we're going to log the rows, and then we multiply it by the proportion. So we go to, so what's the proportion of foreign exchange as to total trading income? And that's what we've done here. You can see it here. 2025, we hit until then I drag down, and then I drag to my right. So that is also done. That is also done. The next thing by now we've completed forecasting of, we've completed forecasting of, let's say, revenue, but we want to complete for income, which will include other income here. Now, so other income to the same approach. So I can go and copy the part of the formula that helps me predict or project the net non-funded income. Here is it. And we know that for the non-funded income, there's a proportion that belongs to other income. So we go and multiply that in the life, look for other income as percentage of total non-funded income. And here it is. We hit enter, and it gives us this figure. It may be too high. It may be too high, but let's just check something. Other income may not grow like this, right? So these are things you need to do to refine the numbers when we start doing model optimization, right? Which we'll do tomorrow. We'll do the model optimization tomorrow. So we'll get our entire model finally ready tomorrow. Once we do the model optimization, then we know our model is ready for valuation. Okay. So we are done with the income component. You have to finish the expense. Once we are done with the expense, then we link our things to the financial statement. Then we are done for the day. Then we have our financial statement balancing. So let's link all these things here. We're linking everything here. So you can now see that the numbers are growing gradually. You see them all growing nicely now, taking an upward trend, right? That's we expect. We expect that. Okay. Good. No question there. Okay, so hope everything is cool then. Now, so I'm taking the revenue back and bringing in the cost. So you handle the cost aspects now. Okay, cost. Let's start with interest expense. So interest expense, we have CASA. And then, you know how we calculate these things? We were trying to forecast this based on the average cost, right? The cost of funds. So this is CASA cost of funds, which is the interest cost on CASA or interest expense on CASA divided by the CASA, which is current account, savings account, deposits, right? And then we do for time deposit again. Also, we do for borrowings. So let's do this. 2025, we know the average cost of funds, 1.8. We multiply by the average of. Now, don't forget, we're dealing with current account and savings account here. So this is how the calculation is going to be. We go to funding worksheet. We go to the funding worksheet and look for customer deposits. Here we get it. We have current account and savings account. So current account in 2024 plus savings account in 2024, comma, current account in 2025 plus savings account in 2025, bracket close. When we hit enter, it gives us the cost. That's quite high, right? What it means is that we're growing really fast. These are some of the things that you may want to revise later. Yeah, you may want to revise later. So we drag that here, and this is what we have. This is what we have. One thing. So tomorrow when we are evaluating a model, you notice that also because in 2024 the average cost of fund is 1.4 and we are predicting 1.8 going forward. It may be too high, right? It may be too high because this thing is trending down and we are predicting it to be 1.8. So those are some of the things we are likely to revise tomorrow. Now, time and other deposits. What other deposits do we have? If we say time and other deposits, which other deposit do we have? So in funding, there's only one time deposit we have there, but we're calling it another deposit. Also because historically how the bank reports their financials, right? So we go to live and pick the cost on that and multiply it by the average deposit, which is the previous average of the previous and the current year. The average deposit. Now, so will be this, comma this. Bracket close, hit enter. It takes it here. Then borrowings, we take the cost, we go here, we look for the borrowing cost multiplied by the average of the previous and current year, right? So borrowings. Oh, there's something I've forgotten. Oh, I've forgotten a very important thing. And I'll show you what I've forgotten, right? To do. Let me just finish with the borrowings because the borrowing, that will affect the borrowing. You recall that the CASA is not only for customer deposit, it's for both customer deposit and deposit with other banks and financial institutions, right? And so that should have been included in my calculation. So I'm going to add that. All I have to do is for 2024, I'll add that. So I'll go to the same funding. And I'm looking at deposit from banks and other financial institutions. I'm looking at the current, that's for 2024, and I'll add it to 2024 and add the current also to 2025. So there are three things we are summing up: the current account for deposits from banks and other financial institutions, the current account for deposits from customers, and the savings account for deposits from customers. Right? And then I'll drag them. I think this is a better forecast. And then when I do for time and other deposits, I'll do the same. I'll add the time deposit for the advances to other banks, right? advances to other banks. I'll add time deposits 2024, and then I also add time deposits 2025 to the 2025 one as well. And then I drag this. Well, I've not dragged the borrowing, so let me just drag that for the borrowing as well. So we have this. Good, wonderful. We have this. Wonderful. So that's interest expense is being focused in. And we are happy, right? So let me link that one to the top. Interest expense, let me link that because that is done. Imagine the progress we've made, right? Just within this period. It tells us that if you set up your worksheet properly, things are going to be easier for you. Fee and commission expenses. Oh, that shouldn't be too difficult to do, right? All we need to do, we are forecasting it based on a fee and commission income. And there's a rate. So we go to live and go and pick the ratio 17.7% and multiply by whatsoever the fee and commission income is. So we look for fee and commission income. Fee and commission income. Where is it? Here it is. Then we hit enter. We have that. So we have this. I don't know why this is focused to actually drop the first, but those are I think you addressed tomorrow. So we have this. So this is what we have going forward for expenses. So that is done. And the next thing will be for do personnel expenses. So we are left with personnel expenses and what other expenses. And let's see how that works. Now, for the personnel expenses, I mentioned to you that we are going to focus the personnel expense all together, then we'll distribute it across the various components. So that's what we do. We pick the personnel expenses, the total, and we focus 1 plus the growth rate. And then we go here, the growth rate is this, 19%. We have here, bracket close. This gives us the total personnel expense forecast for 2025. We need to then distribute it. So to do that, I need to log this. I need to log this also. Then we do the distribution. We distribute it across the various components. And that means we come in here, wages, and multiply like this. And the total should be as forecasted. And then we have this. However, there's a bit of a problem. While we do the forecasting for the personnel expenses and we distribute, our balance sheet may not be balanced. The reason is that the manner in which we forecast the retirement benefit obligation matters. For example, if you go to let's say the other balance sheet items and you look for retirement obligation and you look for the net expense recognized in P&L, which is the one under the personnel expenses. When you look for it here, let's see the figure it gives us. It gives us these figures. So these are the figures here forecasted there. Let's see whether the figures are consistent with the one here. If they're consistent, hooray, we are in business. If they're not consistent, we have a problem. Let's check whether they're consistent. So check these against the one here. So this minus this. Let's see whether the result will be 0. If the result is 0, we are in business. Yeah, it's 0. So our forecasting is right. Okay, we actually linked the things today, so it must be correct. I just wanted to check. So the retirement benefit obligation expense that comes here is the one that you see under the other BS items called the net expense that goes to P&L. All right, so that is done. The last side is the other expenses. The forecasting of that too, we are going to forecast the entire other expenses. We multiply that by 1 plus, in the life. So in the life, we go and we look for the growth rate in the other expenses, hit enter, then this is a growth rate in expenses, right? The total growth rate. We are going to log that. We will log this also. And we are going to distribute this value through. So we're going to multiply by the ratios. And you see them here, tech and communication as percentage of other expenses and all that. So we multiply that there, and then we drag down. So we drag down, we got this, we drag to our right, and we got this. Hooray! Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So we've done that as well. What is left? There are some two things left here, but the whole thing is that these two things that are left are actually going to be derived from, or the result from these projections. For example, the impairment expense for loans for 2025 is basically going to be, so I'll go to loans for 2025. Where is it? So I'll go to earning assets. I'm looking for impairment summary. Here we have impairment summary. So I see the impairment rising. Therefore, the differential, listen, is the differential, that is the expense, the difference between the 2024 and 2025. So I do 2024 minus 2025, right? So that is my impairment. And I'll do the same because I've arranged the things properly. When I do that, all going to be consistent, right? So this is it. We didn't compute for investment securities, you remember. So only for the loans, and see how it is growing. All these things will be adjusted tomorrow when we looking at the output from our analysis. One thing I want to say is that I made it, not to say a mistake, but I want these things to be positive values. So instead of doing 2024 minus 2025, I'll rather do 2025 minus 2024, so that my things are positive, because I'm actually going to be deducting them. I'm going to be negating them elsewhere, right? So impairment 2025 minus 2024, the same value, but now the signs will change. So I have this and then drag to the right. Tax expenses, that will be from the P&L account. So depending on the corporate tax for a year, and let's compute that quickly. We know we have the corporate tax rates. Where is it? 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 We have assumption for corporate tax rates. Oh, here is it. Under others, taxation. 25% corporate tax rate. So we use that multiplied by the profit for the year, the profit before tax for the year. And that means we need to go to the P&L and fetch that. So profit before tax for the year. And oh, my things are linked. I didn't intend to link it. So I'm going to take off all the link and relink it again. So we have profits before income tax is this for 2025. We multiply by the tax rate, and that gives us this. So this is what we're doing. And then the fiscal levy and all those things, the same approach. But let me just pick, I want to copy the, so as I want to copy, if I lock the profits, I lock the row, I can actually drag down, right? Because I've arranged my taxes accordingly. So let's see whether it's true. So this is circular reference. I don't know why this circular reference. I don't know where the circular reference is coming from, but what am I locking? I'm locking a profit, right? P&L. No. I'm wrong. I have to lock the row. I didn't lock the row. Yeah. So now I lock the row. So if I drag, I shouldn't have that problem again. Good. So you could see, I don't have anything on defector. So you could see, because the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy and the Financial Sector Recovery Levy are all 5%. You see the figure calculated, they are all constant. Okay. Deferred tax expense, there's no movement, right? When I go to the other BS items, I can find the movement. There's nothing there. We are not forecasting any movement in that. So that's that. So I can confidently say that we are projected the essential components of the financial statement. So given that all these things are done, we can now go back to do the forecasting or link things to the financial statement. And so I go to first to P&L. I want to delete the things I have and do them again. So you see where I'm picking them from, right? I set these things up like this, but it's not everybody that's maybe let me delete almost everything here, right? And do them again. Now, so let's check it out, how this is working. You have to spend some few minutes with me again, so that I complete and balance this financial statement. For forecast purpose of tax expense, we should use the effective tax rate instead of marginal tax rate. It's effective tax rate instead of marginal tax rate. Well, I agree with you, right? I agree with you, but I'm using this also for tutorial purpose that you see, I understand where you're coming from when you say effective tax rate, but think about a situation whereby there are some significant one-off items that are done in the previous period that has affected, and which were even allowed for tax purposes, that has affected the tax assessment. Going forward, those things are not relevant again. So think about that. So because of that, I felt like, why not just using a marginal tax rate to start with, right? We can always adjust, right? You are right, Ibrahima, you are right, but I'm just thinking I'll align this link to see. So you'll get back to that, but that's a good observation from you. Now I've linked my things, right? I've linked them all, so I can just drag them, or for you to see where I'm taking them from. Well, here I'm coming to revenue. On the revenue, I'm looking for interest income. So I pick it from there, I drag. Then for cost, I bring negative, and I go to the same, I go to the cost thing, I pick interest expense from there. And then I realize that something has not been done. And then of course, I'll go back there to check something again. Now, so based on this, I put in the formula already to sum this up, the negative and the positive. So this gives me my net interest income, right? Let me go to cost and check out something here. I didn't link these things back. Fee and commission income, fee and commission expense, and then personnel expenses. I should link them to the top here. So I can pick things right from the top, right? And then the last one is other expenses. Let me link this also to the top here. Then we have this. Okay, it's done. Now, so going back to the SPL. Now, once we have the net interest income, we can compute the rest, followed by fee and commission income. So I go to revenue again. I want to balance this before I close for today, right? Fee and commission income. Because when we do that, tomorrow, all we need to do is to optimize our model, and we will treat other assumptions as well. Other scenarios. Then fee and commission expense. Fee and commission expense, I go to cost. I pick the fee and commission expense here. And then when I drag that, I can sum them up as well. That's fee and commission income minus fee and commission expense. And that gives me the net fee and commission income. Oh, my days feel without formatting. Good. Then the net trading income here, the net trading income, I go to, again, to revenue, and I pick the net trading income. And I also get other income. I go to the same revenue tab. Maybe I should have called it income tab, right? And pick the other income as well here. So I can drag the two. And so when I add the net interest income to the net fee and commission income to the other sort of income like net trading income and other fee income, it gives me what we call the operating income for the bank. That's what we call the operating income for the bank. Then net impairment loss on loans. So that one, I go to cost, I come to impairment expense for loans, and I have that here. I need to put it in, it's an expense, so negative. And in net impairment loss on investment securities, I go to the same place, I put a negative by it, I pick for investment securities. Then there's something called the recognition loss on investment securities. Let me leave that. Personnel expenses. No, you see, this net impairment loss on loans is a combination of loans to customers and loans to other banks. So let me add that of other banks to it. There's nothing there, but then let me add it for shaky reasons. And personnel expenses, well, I'm going to cost. I'm looking for personnel expenses. Here we go. I pick it at 1.4 billion. Then depreciation and amortization expenses. So I put a negative equal to negative into bracket. Then I go to fees assets, and I'm looking for depreciation for 2025. Here's the charge, depreciation charge. And then I go to intangibles, the same thing. I go for amortization charge. I sum the two up. I hit enter. I have this. And then other expenses, I go to cost and go link other expenses from there. Then I have all these. I drag them to the right. Drag all these to the right. So then when I adjust that against operating income, I have profit before income taxes. Then I need to calculate the income tax expense. Income tax expense is basically, I've done it already, right? I go to cost and I go to income tax. We've done this computation. So because now we have the profit before tax appearing, and based on that, we've calculated all these things. So I just pick this. This is the tax expense for the year. So I have this, right? And based on this, I add that and I'm able to get the bank's profitability. I'm able to get the bank's profitability. So the profit after tax for the bank. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful work. Now, based on this, we can do the balance sheet quickly. We have the balance sheet to, you just have to link the things, then we get our balance sheets done. Let's check it out on the balance sheet side. Here too, I want to delete everything I have to start with, because I initially linked it, right? For cash, let us not worry ourselves about cash. That's coming from cash flow statement. So we go to non-pledged trading asset. We go to other balance sheet items. That's where we can find it. Non-pledged trading asset. Where it is, where it is, where it is. Here's it. Non-pledged trading asset is there. Derivatives, nothing. Investment other than securities, we go to the same other balance sheet items. Investment other than securities, we pick that there. Then the next thing is loans and advances to customers. It must be the net loans, ladies and gentlemen. It must be the net loans. So we go to any asset, look for net loans and advances to customers. Here is it. We pick it up. Then the next one is loan advances to banks. It must be the net advances as well. Go to any asset, we get a net advances to banks and other financial institutions. We pick it up. Next is investments in securities. So we go to any asset, we look for net investment in securities, 17 billion, we pick it up. And then we move to the next, investment in associated companies. So you go to other BS items. In fact, I know where the things are, so just moving. Of course, you've been with me too, so you know. Investment in subsidiaries, we go to other BS items, we pick it up, investment in subsidiary. Then deferred taxes, deferred tax, yeah, we have it. We go to other BS items, we come down, then we pick deferred tax asset. Then current tax assets, good. We need to this is where we need to put some if statement here. This is what we're going to do. Because the current task can either be asset or liability, we are setting the setup. If it flips from asset to liability, we're able to handle it as well. So what we're going to do is this. If then I go to current task asset, so I go to other balance sheet items. If this figure is greater than 0, then it's a current task liability. Therefore, assets is 0 because the natural position is a liability. So the current task asset is 0. Otherwise, is a current task asset. So here is not a current task asset. Now the same formula will be needed when we get to the liability section too. Let's proceed. Now, intangible assets, definitely we did have that. We do have that. We go to fixed assets. We're looking for intangible assets. We're looking for the carrying amount. We have it here. We other assets. Here we forecasted that, and our other BS items. Other asset is this. We forecasted at the top here. We pick it up. Property, plant, and equipment. Here we go to fixed asset. We have it there. We pick it up. So with this, we can sum everything up to the very top, including the cash we are here to calculate. And then we drag them, we drag it to the right, and then we drag everything here also to the right. Okay. So this is what we've done. We have to place the cash there, right? Good. Now, let's come to the liability section. Deposit from banks and other financial institutions. We go to funding and we pick that up there. Deposit from bank and other financial institutions. And this, here is it. Then deposit from customers. We go to the funding and we pick deposit from customers. We pick it up. And then we look for borrowings. Borrowings. We go to same place. We pick borrowings. Then what are we left with? Current tax liability. Good. So the current tax asset formula we have here will apply, but we need to make adjustment. Now, if the figure is greater than 0, then it is the current tax that will be placed. Otherwise, it's 0. So I just change the position. If this, when you watch, you see exactly what I'm doing. So you can see that there's a current tax. But it's a liability, so it will be flipping depending on which direction it's taking, right? Employer obligation, we go to other BS items and look for employer obligation. We pick that there. Then we go to other liabilities, other BS items again. We pick other liabilities from there. Then we sum this up, and then we are going to drag this across. So liability section is also done. Let's come to the equity section, which is the final section. Now with the equity section, let's do this here. Let's do this here. Let's go to, let me check something quickly. Okay, all this from equity. Let's go to equity and check something from there. So in the equity section, all these things are linked from below, right? The stated capital, the opening balance is the closing balance for the previous year. Then we have no new shares issued and all that, so that's all 0. The return earnings is the same thing. We have the opening balance being the closing balance for the previous year. Then profit for the year falls in there. So we go to the P&L and pick the profit for the year. So profit for the year is this. We pick that up and then we drag. Then dividend paid. So far, we've not made any dividend payment policy. We look at that. And there's some movement that you look at soon for. That is the let me delete this adjustment for error here. That is the transfer to statutory reserve, transfer to credit risk reserve. We're going to handle this soon, right? Transfer to other reserves, especially the transfer to statutory, because I don't really care about the credits, right? And statutory is the main thing here. But as it stands now, account can still balance without doing those transfers. So the opening balances come from closing balance for the previous period. And here as well, the closing balance becomes the opening balance here. So no transfer yet. Fair value too. We are not over a forecast period. We don't forecast fair value movement. We don't do that, right? Yeah, that's why you could see that things like investment other than securities, like those equity investments, we forecast them to be constant, right? Okay. Now, other reserves, we leave them the way they are. We leave them constant throughout. Good. Dividend payments, we've not done anything on dividend payments yet. And to me, because we've not even come up with a dividend policy, but let's just link the dividend policy to the assumption sheet. We have assumption sheets here on dividend policy. I think we have something like that, right? Let's check it on dividend policy. I think that should be under others. There's dividend payment policies here. So what we do is that we are going to link this to the equity worksheets here. So we are going to do 2025 dividend policy will be the assumptions we have here. 2025, what is it? So we have this here, 2025 dividend policy, which is dividend payments ratio and profit after tax less transfers. And that should be, profit after tax less transfers should be the profit after tax reported, and then we going to less the transfers, all the transfers that could be made. And the first transfer should be transfer statutory reserve, and the second transfer should be transfer credit risk reserve. They are actually negative figures, right? So when we place them, they will be negative. So let me rather add. So this is the profit after tax less transfers. So currently, you are not taking off any transfer. And then we multiply the dividend payouts by the profits. We multiply the dividend payout by the profit. But this is the case I want you to take note of. The dividends that we're dealing with, for example, look at this carefully. The dividend that will be paid in 2025 will be based on 2024 profits. 2024 profit. So the dividend that will be paid will be based on 2024 profits. So we shift this year so that it's based on 2024 profit instead, right? So that will be the dividend that will be paid in 2025. So we drag down there. Currently, we are not projecting any dividend, so that is fine. So we can drag these things all to the right. We can drag all these things to the right to fill, because I've linked them all already. Good. With all this done, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to our balance sheet and link some things in our balance sheet. We go to our balance sheet to link the things on our balance sheet. Base case. Let me check something. All right, let's link staff in our balance sheet to finish that. So we got our balance sheet, and then we can look for equity here. Stated capital, we have it here, and then the next thing is retained earnings. Retained earnings, we have it here. Retained earnings, all here. And the next thing we need is statutory reserve. The statutory reserve requirement, we have that also here, statutory reserve. And the next definitely is credit risk reserve. So we go here as well and look for credit risk reserve. Credit risk reserve is this. Then the rest follow: fair value reserve, and then other whatever I can drag, right? So this is what we have. And then let me put this under it. Then from here, we can sum up stuff, right? So when we sum up stuff, we have this figure here. When we sum up the stuff, we have this figure here. With this, we can then drag through to the end. Now, what is next? I can then sum up the total liabilities and equity, which then are the total liabilities, and the total liability is this, plus total equity, which is this, and that is going to give me this figure here I have. Okay, my balance sheet is not in balance, and I know, guys, it's not a mistake. I know why my balance sheet is not in balance, and you should also know why my balance sheet is not in balance. We've not brought here the cash. So once we bring in the cash and it's still not balanced, then we can have conversation on that. But since we have yet to bring the cash, we can't actually conclude to say our balance sheet is not in balance. Let's look at the cash. Let's look at the cash. That's the final thing we do, then we close today. Guys, you've been doing so well. You've been with me all this while, and that's beautiful of you. Let's work on the cash flow statement now. Profit for the period. Let me see something. Okay. Now, so profit for the period, we definitely got that. That's the net profit for the period. Then here I want to be dragging the things at once. Depreciation and amortization must be added back. You know, those are non-cash items, right? So we go to the profits P&L account and we add back depreciation and amortization. Since it's a negative figure here, we are adding it back. I put a negative sign by it. So I drag that as well. Next is the net impairment loss on financial assets. Impairment is also a non-cash item, so I need to add all of them back. I put negative, but there may be multiple, so I put negative, then a bracket, so I can sum a list of them, this plus the last line here, which is the derecognition stuff here, all the three. So this must also be added back since it's non-cash, right? Good. Next thing is loss on derecognition. Oh, okay, I've added it back already. Oops, it looks like I've been too fast. So let me add just the first two, and then this one will be the loss on derecognition. This, we are not forecasting anything like that, right? Derecognition loss. Yeah. Then what is next? Employee benefit obligation. Now, the net expense in a pension, those net expenses we talked about, is actually not a cash item. The cash item is the benefit paid to employees, right? The pension benefit paid. So that must be adjusted. So it was included in personnel expenses, if you recall. So we must add it back. So when we go to cost, you find it there under personnel expenses. Let's check it out. So you see it here, retirement benefit obligation is under personnel, and it's in it when we send it to the P&L. So we need to add it back, right? It was deducted in the P&L, so we are adding it back. So we add it back. We add expense back since it's non-cash. PPE written off, we don't have anything like that. Intangible asset written off, we don't have anything like that in the forecast period. Now the big boys have started. The net interest margin or the net interest income. Now the whole thing is this. When you come to the P&L here, the interest income in the P&L is not entirely cash. Okay, if it's a cash item, but it's not entirely cash, what I mean is that this is an accrued income. Okay, it's not. It's just like credit sales and car sales bundled together to give you total revenue, right? Credit sales and car sales, and so the revenue on the P&L is not entirely cash. There's a credit component to it. The same thing applies to the interest income and interest expense. Now, if you look at it generally, what we should have done is to adjust, to also add back the entire of the interest income. And then when we add back the interest income, why I say we add back? Since it's a revenue, we deduct it. We deduct the interest income. And when we deduct the interest income, then we then add back the actual cash received from customers in respect of interest income, right? That's what cash received, because you can accrue interest on a loan, but the customer may not pay that same amount. Okay, it may delay in payment and all kind of stuff. So we are going to accrue, we are going to add back what we are going to deduct what we've accrued and has been included in profit. Because it is part of profit, we deduct, it's a revenue, so we deduct it. And then when the customer, then we then add back what is actually paid in cash by the customer. Then when it comes to the interest expense, since it's an expense, it's been deducted to arrive at profit, we add it back. So you can see that the interest income, we deduct it, the interest expense, we add it back, right? If we add interest expense back, because it's also accrued on the deposit and borrowing, then we just go and then now deduct what was actually paid, like the actual interest paid. So that's how it works. But this is the idea. Because if we take interest income and we deduct interest expense, we get net interest income. So why doing it individually when you can just pick the net figure and adjust? So the net interest income is what we're going to do. We are going to deduct it. So we go to the cash flow statement and we locate the net interest income and deduct it. So I go to the P&L, I pick the net interest income here, I deduct it. So I'm going to put negative by it so I can deduct it. Then along the way, I'm going to now add back the actual interest received and deduct the actual interest paid. And it will give you the same result, right? Dividend income, no, we are not forecasting anything like that. Profits or loss on sales or PP, we didn't forecast anything like that. Foreign exchange gain or loss, we didn't forecast anything like that. Income tax expense, yeah. The income tax expense we've charged is not necessarily what is going to be paid. So we have to add it back. So we go to P&L and take the income tax expense and add it back. So this is what we have. And when we are done with all these additions and things, this is what we end up having as the balance to start with. So we have this. So after all this initial adjustment. All right, now let's proceed. We are making great progress. We will balance this soon. Now, from here, it's all going to be the movement in assets and operating assets and liabilities. That's what we're going to be doing here. Movement in these operating assets and liabilities throughout. Then afterwards, then we get the operating cash flow. So changes in non-pledged trading assets. So since it's an asset, if it is increasing, it gives a negative cash flow position, right? It constitutes a cash outflow if it is increasing. Therefore, this is what we're going to do. I go to other BS items. I look for non-pledged trading assets. It is increasing, therefore it will be the 2024 minus the 2025. So this is what's happening. It keeps increasing. Therefore, it's a cash outflow. Nothing on derivatives. We move straight to advances to our changes in advances to banks. Now, advances to banks constitute loans we are giving to banks. And when you give more and more loan, cash is going out, right? It's a cash outflow. So if it is increasing, it's a cash outflow. Therefore, we go to the earning asset. And this is where some of the difficulty starts. Because we are dealing with the loans in this case, if I take the gross loans and I look at the movement in the gross loan, it's not entirely cash because there are interest in suspense and interest accrued and a whole lot of things all happening in there. Okay, I want you to know something.
If I take the gross loan, the movement in gross loan consists of the interest you've accrued on the loan, which have not yet been paid. So this is how it works actually. We take, let's look at a simple approach here. Is take beginning, or let me call it opening gross loan. Then you add interest accrued. So kind of like interest accrued on the gross loan, right, is added. Then you less the interest received on the loan. So you less the interest received. And then also you less interest in suspense. The interest in suspense account. Because the interest in suspense account, it was included in the interest accrued. So interest in suspense account is lessen, or you less it for me, and that will give you the closing or the adjusted gross loan. So I want you to look at something. It gives you the adjusted gross loan. So now it tells you that the movement in gross loan is not entirely, oh, there's one thing I left. I also have new loans granted. So we also have the new loans they've granted. Then we have adjusted or closing gross loan. You can just call it closing gross loan or the closing balance. So you see that the movement in gross loan, that's between the opening and the closing, is not entirely cash. It's made up of interest accrued, and if all the interest we've accrued have been received, then this particular side is over. But then we still left with interest in suspense. And that one, we don't even know going forward. And the new loans granted is what we are interested in, because the new loan principal granted is what we need to include in the cash flow statement. And that's what we are looking for. But to do that, we need to know the interest accrued, which we know. This one is in the P&L. So in the P&L, that's the interest we accrued. The interest received, we don't know. We can do a historical analysis to see the proportion of interest received to interest accrued. Generally, I did that in the past before, and it's very close. It's very close. It's kind of like 95%, 98%, right? So I'm going to make a simplistic assumption that the interest accrued is the same as the interest received for me to get my cash flow in balance, right? Otherwise, I will need to do that historical analysis and all that. It's not quite necessary. Then the interest in suspense, I don't even know, even GCB going forward, how they report the account, it's even difficult to come up with the actual interest in suspense. So here too, I'm going to assume that there is no interest or additional interest in suspense going forward. Or there is no interest in suspense. Let me just make that simplistic assumption. I will not be too wrong, right? Then I'll say that based on this, the movement in gross loan is entirely explained by the new loans granted. That's what I'm going to say. So I've explained the basis. And the same approach I'm going to use for the deposit as well. Okay, let me leave what I've just done here. Let me not delete it. Right. Now, based on what I've just said, advances to bank will be simply the movement in the gross advances. So that will be, based on what I explained, right? We'll go to gross advances to other banks. So this is the gross advances to other banks. And so the movement. So when the advances are growing, cash is leaving, right? So the previous minus the current. And then we also do changes in loans and advances to customers. Also the same thing. We go to earning assets and go to gross advances, and then do 2024 minus 2025. We do that as well. We have this. Then the next thing we do is changes in other assets. And changes in other assets as well will be these are all assets, right? So it will be current, previous minus current. So changes in other assets will be previous minus current year. And then what is next? We have restricted cash. We leave it the way it's like that. Then we move to the liability side. Changes in deposits from banks and other financial institutions. We will work with the gross, just like the explanation I gave to the loans. The same explanation applies here, right? What we are doing is that we are looking at for the actual deposit now mobilized. But look, we don't have enough information to do those calculations and make it too detailed. If I'm doing this for a bank, I can request for the bank to give me all these details. But since we are doing it as though we are external to the bank, we need to approximate a few things. Deposit from banks and other financial institutions, we go to funding and we look for the deposit for bank and other financial institution. And there since it's liability, it must be current year minus the previous year, rather than previous year minus current, which we saw an asset. So that will be a positive cash. And when deposits arise, it means more money is coming, right? And deposit from customers must also be current year minus previous year. So we go to funding and we look for current year minus the previous year. That also done here. And then we look for changes in borrowings as well, must be, and borrowing to this, it has the same issue, right? Must be current minus previous. So we go to current for borrowing, current minus the previous year. We have the previous year here. Good. So we have that also there. Changes in borrowing. Then we look for changes in other liabilities. Let me take off this particular line item, supposed not to be here. So we go to changes in other liabilities. So since it's also liability, it must be current year minus previous year, right? So we go to liabilities. We take the current year minus the previous year. Okay. Current year minus previous year, we have this. Then employee benefit paid, the actual benefit paid. You can see that earlier we added back the benefit accrued in P&L. The net expenses accrued in P&L. Here we are going to be looking at the actual benefit paid, right? So we go to other BS item. That's a cash flow item. So the benefit paid is this. We pick it up and bring it here. So we drag it, and then we're almost there. So what do we do? After all this, we sum this up, and this gives us the cash generated or used from operations, or used in operations. So that is what we have here. And based on that, we then have to look at the actual interest received. And I mentioned to you, we are going to assume that the interest accrued in the P&L is the same as the interest received. So we still go to the P&L and look at the interest accrued, and that becomes our interest received. And dividend received, no, we don't care about that. We've not forecasted anything like that. Then the interest paid will also be the same as the interest charged in P&L. That's the assumption we made. The actual interest paid, we go back to the P&L and pick that as well. The actual interest paid in the P&L, and we have this figure. Then the next thing is net income tax paid. For the net income tax paid, we have that in BS. We are paying 75% of the opening and the charge for the year. And we've calculated that down already. So we just pick it up. So this is the tax that we've actually paid in a year. And so we drag this also to the right and then sum things up. And this is what we have. Good. We are done with net cash from operating activities. Investing activity for a bank and financing another match. So let's clear that up quickly. And we hope to see our balance sheet in balance. Question in the chat box. Hi, Julia. Looks like people are dropping off. Can we wrap up and continue tomorrow? Yeah, but then I have to balance my financial statement. This is the final part to balance my financial statement. So let me just do that. People can always watch the recording to show them that the financial statement has been balanced, right? And to do that. Otherwise, we'll end up pushing things to tomorrow, and I don't want that. At least I have this balance. I know tomorrow when we come, we're going to optimize the model. We work on model optimization, and then we are cool to go. Sale of equity investments, nothing like that. Purchase of equity investments, nothing like that, because we are not forecasting any of these things, right? Purchase of investment in subsidiary, nothing like that. We didn't forecast that we are going to purchase anything like that. Purchase of investment securities, yes, we have that. This has to do with investment securities. So since it's an asset, if we are purchasing, it means cash is going, right? So we go to earning asset and look for gross investment securities, and then we do the previous minus the current. So cash outflow when we buy these securities. So then what else? Sale of investment. Well, we are not planning. We're making a simplistic assumption that we are not selling any of the investment securities. They are always like held to maturity, right? Or the money which we're going to be selling and buying in such a way that the net effect is zero. So those assumptions we make when we are forecasting these things. Purchase of property, plant, equipment, and ROU, or right of use asset. Yeah, we're doing something like that. So we go to fixed asset, we look at PPE. Are we purchasing something? Yeah, we have additions. So we pick the addition. We have that here. And proceeds from sale, we are not selling anything, right? And then purchase of intangible assets, yeah, we are purchasing something like that too. So we go to fixed asset and additions, we are picking the addition side of it. And we have this as well. So let me sum up some of these things. Let me bold them up, and then I can drag this, right? I can drag this to this level. I can drag this up here. Then what are we left with? Almost done. Financing. Let's check financing out. Proceeds from share issuance, nothing like that. Share buyback, nothing like that. Dividends, nothing like that. So here, even for dividend, we can just link it down, just in case. Linking it for sugar reasons, right? So we come to dividend payment, and if there's any dividend paid at all, yeah. So then we drag that. That's if we come up with a dividend policy. Then no cash flow from financing activity for the bank. Yeah. And then finally, we look for the net cash and cash equivalent, which is to take the net cash for operating activities, add it to the one for financing or from investing and then to financing. So we do the same for this period. And then we look for the cash balance for the year, guys. It's almost there. So let me check something. The cash balance for December 2024 is 1444. Let me check whether it's the same thing here. The reason why I'm checking that actually is that there are some issues with GCB financial statement regarding the cash balance for the year and how some of these things are done. So it's kind of like complicated, right? I am trying hard to see. I think there's an error here as well. I want to ensure that the beginning cash balance is as consistent as what we have. But there are some issues. So tomorrow when we come, I'm going to resolve this issue with the ending balance here. But you know that the balance on the balance sheet, and these are actual numbers, so it's not like I'm creating any number. These are actual numbers. It's supposed to be 14.4 billion. So I'm going to put that to be the opening balance in my forecast period, right? Because that's how it's supposed to be, the opening balance, my forecast period. So I put the actual value there, the value that is supposed to have been, and then I can drag this all through. Then I have this done because the opening balance on the balance sheet should be consistent. That's a closing balance for 2024 should be consistent with the opening balance for 2025. But because of the issues with that financial statement, right? Just link your opening balance. Yeah, that's what I did. I just plug it in there. I plug it in there quickly so that we have. And let's see whether the balance sheet is in balance. If it isn't in balance, we will still close today and do tomorrow. If it is in balance, we say hooray. Let's check it out. You may think it's not in balance because I've not linked. Let's link it out and see if it is in balance. And the rate at which I've been rushing this, I pray it is in balance, and I hope strongly it will be in balance. Let's check it out. Some few amounts here may be something which we have not linked, for which reason we have this difference arising. When I study the difference, it's something which has been increasing. It tells you that the differentials of the difference, we will still close. But what's happening here is that the difference, there might be some figures that are not being linked. Definitely, it is not this column of equity, and I'm wondering the area that is actually churning out all these figures. It is definitely also not other assets. It's maybe something that we have not linked, but because it's late today, we can work on that. That will be first thing tomorrow. First thing tomorrow, we can quickly work on that and to see what exactly is resulting in this difference that we are having. Today had been a very hard day. I know I've actually taken a lot of time, but because of the rush which we did this, we may have that difference arising somewhere, and which will resolve tomorrow. That will be the first thing we do. And tomorrow we are going to look at optimization of the model. We'll optimize the model as well. And once we have our model optimized, we are good to go. It's a growing figure, and I'll show you how we do that. And it's good that I have this error so that I can show you how we analyze errors as well. So that is it for today. I have some few people on the call, and you guys have done well. Nelson, Sam, Ibrahima. Well, to know that all of you have actually been listening to me, put something in the comment section. And Nelson, Ibrahima, I have been putting something in. Let me see something from every one of you. Once again, a very big thank you, Julius. Very grateful. Thank you, Nelson. You can always watch the videos online on YouTube. And tomorrow you optimize the model, right? I want to see everything for, and it's something from everyone. Pressure. So tomorrow you address the issue with the model. EA, who is EA? EA, please put something there. If you have really been here, the last man standing. I don't know whether men and women to say standing, like still standing. All right. Thank you very much, guys. Tomorrow we will resolve this and optimize the model. And once we optimize the model tomorrow, then we have, what it means is that we have our financial model ready for us to do our valuation. And that is how it is. So we have a financial model ready for valuation. And once we're done with optimization, and within 2 hours, we should be able to optimize the model entirely for the base case, the worst case, and all that. And then we'll see it from there. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday will be for valuation intensively. And we have done all the key things to be done about valuation. So those will be very easy to handle in those 3 days, and then we end the program. Ifri, over to you.
Hi, Julius. Here for me today. So good night, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow.